Daniel came from a privileged family. His father was a university professor and his mother was a respected family physician. His maternal grandfather was a musician, his maternal grandmother was a singer, and his paternal grandparents were also doctors. It was a very cultured family, and everyone adored their only son and grandson. All the adults devoted their spare time to his education. Daniel went to art school, played music, participated in sports and won various competitions. He pleased the adults both at school and at home, except for one thing. His parents disapproved of his relationship with Sandy, a girl from what they deemed an inappropriate family. Daniel and Sandy met in judo class with the same trainer. Daniel was obedient and immediately liked the fussy and naughty Sandy, who in turn liked the clever and humble Daniel. Sandy's father was a dock worker and her mother worked for a cleaning company. They were an ordinary working-class family. Sandy grew up mostly on her own, with Daniel as her only friend. Sandy often encouraged him to do various pranks, which got him in trouble with his parents. When Sandy taught him to climb trees, he fell and broke his arm. After Sandy suggested that they go swimming at an unimproved beach, Daniel almost drowned and hurt his leg. All in all, Sandy was a walking disaster. However, throughout their childhood, Daniel protected her from everyone, helped her with her lessons, taught her how to speak properly, and introduced her to the joys of reading. When Sandy was 15, her mother was hit by a car on her way home from work late one night. A month later, her father drowned after drinking too much. Sandy was then sent to live with an aunt in another state, and the connection between her and Daniel was lost. Daniel wrote letters to Sandy at her new address, but never received a response. Eventually, he gave up trying to contact her, and his parents breathed a sigh of relief, happy that Sandy was gone from their son's life forever. During medical school, old friends reconnected, and their feelings for each other reunited with renewed vigour. Sandy claimed to have replied to his letters but received no response. She kept some of his letters until now, realising that his caring parents had intercepted them. Daniel informed his family that he had reunited with Sandy, and they planned to marry after graduation. However, his mother and father were horrified. His grandmother shook her head sternly and lamented her grandson's stupidity. Daniel tried to assure them that Sandy was intelligent and the best student in class, but his parents had already chosen a bride for him from their social circle. Sandy, who came from a working-class family, did not meet their requirements. After realizing it was pointless to try to prove anything, Daniel moved in with Sandy. They had been living together for 2 years when Sandy found out she was pregnant. Daniel was thrilled, and even though they still had a year and a half left of school, they were confident they could make it work. The couple didn't rush to get married, hoping Daniel's family would eventually accept Sandy and they could have a proper wedding, especially since they were expecting a baby. However, when Daniel's mother found out, she went to Sandy's house and placed a large sum of money on the table. She demanded that Sandy leave her son alone, insisting that they were not a good match and that their families could never be happy together. Sandy, in her usual candid manner, laughed and pushed Daniel's mother out of the apartment with her money. When the baby was born, Daniel's mother declared that the baby looked nothing like her son. 3 weeks later, she showed her son a medical report that claimed the baby was not his. Daniel was shocked. Sandy tried to convince Daniel that it was all a mistake and that she had never been with another man besides him. However, he refused to believe her. He called her a traitor, packed his bags and left. A year later, he married the girl his parents had chosen for him. Meanwhile, Sandy was struggling. However, her aunt, with whom she had been living since her parents' death, helped her through this difficult time. Her kind aunt took on the responsibility of caring for the newborn so that Sandy could finish her studies. Sandy was only able to see the child once a month when she visited her aunt. Despite her resentment, Sandy was even more determined to become a top-notch doctor because she knew she was now solely responsible for her child. After graduating from medical school, she took a job as an intern at a hospital in the town where her aunt lived. Life got better for the young doctor, and she was finally able to raise her child on her own. Many years had passed. Daniel had recently turned 45 and had become a mediocre doctor. He was married to an always disgruntled and grumpy woman and had almost no contact with his parents. He blamed them for his failed marriage. 5 years after breaking up with Sandy, he learned that his mother had faked the results of a genetic test and deceived him. A month ago, Daniel met Sandy at a conference he had been assigned to from his clinic. Sandy recognized him immediately and greeted him warmly. They struck up a conversation during which Daniel, feeling guilty, asked her about how she had been doing all these years. Sandy informed him that she had become a military doctor and had travelled to hotspots after her internship, with whom she now had a happy family with 3 children. Her eldest son wants to follow in his parents' footsteps and become a military doctor. As Daniel looked at the confident Sandy, he realised that it wasn't she who wasn't suited for him, but he who wasn't suited for her. Something his mother had been right about. Nevertheless, Sandy assured him that she held no grudge against him or his mother, and that everything had worked out well for her, as she had become a capable doctor and built a wonderful family. The outcome of their relationship had been unknown, had they stayed together.